Yay, awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. You are great with your time. Thank you again. And now we're going to open it up to Q&A with um, our current board priority. So anyone from the board, please ask any questions regarding Richard's um, speech and or questions about anything said.
I can hear you. Thank you for your question. And I would say like having like, a an event for alumni if they want to come back to like share their experiences after like graduation, and maybe having a like an Instagram page just for like alumni so they can like still keep in contact with each other and have like a source to look after Mafa.
I have a question for you, Richard. So, as co-outreach, you also communicate a lot with orgs in the Mafa sphere, along with the vice president external, and communication is always kind of like a barrier to getting information out to these orgs, and it's an important role for co-outreach. How will you utilize Mafa's current channels of communication to make sure that orgs get the information that they need and they are engaged with Mafa?
Thank you for your question. And I would make sure to contact through email and finding using like Discord and reaching out to like the current like VP externals that are for the school year, and then making sure like to make time for them, like having like separate like one-on-ones, and like meeting with the VP external for MAPA too and the other co-outreach, and just like making sure to like have a good communication like on like messenger or like email, and then just like checking up on them like every time, even if they're not as responsive.
I have a follow-up question, or just kind of another question for you. Uh, Considering the current state of the MOF family program, what is your current vision for it? And, at the end of your term, what would you like to see that you have done for the program?
For the program, I want to still like have that like sense of like community and like family for like the members, and like making sure that they have like people to like reach out to, and to have like a safe space for them like once they join MAPA, and like continue it throughout their undergrad years. And something that I want to like achieve like after my term would be just like implementing like more like involvement with like families who are not like that active, or like if they're members like in their families that are like that don't feel like they're like really involved, like maybe having like more like challenges or like activities that they can have like within their group chats, or like just like have like more events like around like for like my families.
Okay, thanks so much for answering those questions, Richard. Before I open it to anyone else, does anyone else have any questions from the board? Yeah. Okay, cool. I personally do not have any questions for you, Richard. You just made it in time. So there aren't any questions from the live stream. So that concludes your interview. Just want to say thank you again. And as a reminder, this is going to be live streamed in our YouTube channel. So if you ever want to look back and or send it to anyone, you're more than welcome to. And after this, the voting portion will open after all the interviews go through, just as a reminder. So before then, does anyone else have any reminders to give Richard or anything of the sorts? Okay, cool. You're all set, Richard. You were able to leave the call now, and we're going to continue with the rest of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of interviews.
Thank you. Hope you have a nice evening. Okay. Good job. Okay. Next for our interviews, we have Jolina. So we are going to wait a couple minutes until they're able to join.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Jolina.
Hi.
Sorry. Okay. Welcome to your interview for the Mafa e-board. I'm just going to give you a couple reminders and just a quick intro of how this will be performed. So you do get 5 minutes for your speech and 5 minutes for Q&A with time warnings from Jacob. It will be put in the chat. You're able to do anything from your speech, but you are more than welcome to add anything, take anything away. And anything you say through your speech or application can be questioned. And we just want to say good luck and a quick reminder that when you do run for Mafa board, we do want to prioritize student status and or job status. And we just want to make sure that we are all aware of that before going into this. So you are more than welcome to start whenever you're ready, and we'll start that 5 minutes then.
All right, thank you so much. All right, hi, I'm Jolina. I'm a rising senior at Indiana University. I'm studying marketing, sales, and business analytics, and today I'm running for the position of Vice President External. So the positions that I have held in my Mafa affiliated organization are fundraising committee head, events coordinator, and vice president internal. I believe that these experiences will benefit the Mafa board because they have taught me how to promote collaboration, facilitate meetings, organize events, enhance my communication skills, and foster connections. These skills would be all beneficial to the Mafa board since I would be working with others on the board and maintaining a very large member organization. From my experience as a Mafa intern, I have learned a lot about the responsibilities of Vice President External. One of these responsibilities is the onboarding of new Mafa member organizations, which I completed my intern project for. Outside of the standard new member school process, I would like to send out a new updated welcome packet that I created during my project and do a walkthrough of the packet and website to show them all of the available resources and opportunities within Mafa. I would also work with the Director of Marketing and Director of Media to launch a social media campaign that would introduce the new member schools and promote their social medias. My last idea would be that I would like to host a more casual virtual social event with the new organization members and all members of the Mafa sphere to start building connections. The Mafa directory is an amazing concept that I would personally utilize. I would like to increase participation in the Mafa member directory by first introducing the concept to the Mafa sphere. I could host an informational session about the directory, which would also serve as a time for feedback and suggestions on the directory and more ways that we could connect as an organization. If I were to build the Mafa member directory, I would make it into two sections, current Mafa members and Mafa alumni. I would collect contact information of individuals who would like to participate via Google Form or Qualtrics at the beginning of each semester. A form for new members to fill out their contact information will be sent out to all Mafa members through schools externals, Mafa social medias, and their family heads to reach all members. In terms of organization and contact information, I would filter information collected by states and schools. As a business analytics major, I have strong Excel and data skills, which will help me navigate and sort information. In terms of security, I would make this fully optional, and it can only be accessed by current Mafa members and alumni via secure login on the website. Along with the Mafa member directory, I plan to strengthen connections between Mafa alumni and active members through building up the LinkedIn, hosting virtual alumni events, and regularly meeting with the Alumni Advisory Board. Some ideas for events centered around alumni include an alumni career panel and life advice panel, coffee chats with alumni homecoming or reunions, and also other casual events like game nights. Lastly, while I don't have much knowledge about other regional PhilAm organizations or organizations based in the Philippines, I can provide some ideas for how we can start building some connections with other organizations and staying in touch with our roots. I could start networking with other regional organizations such as Mafa and looking into national conferences that are similar to FACT and MFAS that we could be part of. There are many different ways that we could connect to organizations in the Philippines. We could collaborate and host a fundraiser to aid the Philippines with natural disasters, host Tagalog workshops, and maybe organize a pen pal system with people in the Philippines, and even have virtual social events with other college students. Thank you so much for this opportunity to run for the position of Vice President External and hearing all of my ideas, and I will now open for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jolina, for your speech. Just like you said, this is now the Q&A portion. You did great on your speech time, so now you will be given extra time for the Q&A. And I will give priority to questions to my board.
I can begin, as I am the Vice President External. Jolina, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for running. You did a great job on your speech. I have 3 questions, maybe 2, depending on how much time we have, and they're a bit intricate, so just to give you a forewarning. So the first one that I have is, Mafa oversees all MMO, or Mafa member organization relationships in the Midwest, along with regional organizations such as nonprofits and national companies through corporate sponsorships, other Mafa-like conglomerate organizations across the country, and some global connections. Do you believe there are any of our current connections we should capitalize on more? Or are there any connections we do not currently have that you think would be beneficial for Mafa?
Yeah, I just first wanted to thank you for mentoring me this semester. That's why I pursued this position, and that's a great question. And if I had more time in my speech, I would love to expand on that. Utilizing our network in Mafa is something that's very important to me. As a business major, I really am intrigued by the idea of having lots of career fairs and gaining more corporate sponsors. And I think 4 minutes. Okay. And I think it would be very cool to when I use the directory, something that I want to try to gather from the information I collect is like where, if people, you know, are already alumni that are already have their career started, like where they work, and if they would be willing to, you know, be part of the alumni centered career events that I have ideas for. And I also want to like start networking personally for Mafa for new corporate sponsors, because I think that would be an awesome stream of revenue, and also just building opportunities, career opportunities for our Mafa sphere.
Great answer. Thank you for that. I will skip over my next question. I'll get to that question if we have extra time. But the question I want to ask now is, so I fervently believe each person that has a leadership position has their own leadership values for their own term. So for me this year, it was focusing on long-term sustainable growth. And I carried this throughout every decision and introduction of new programming. So for you, what would be your values and or focus if you are elected as VPE?
Yeah, I think you did a great job. I think I have kind of a similar leadership style. For me, I kind of like to pick up the pieces of like where, you know, where the previous leader before me told me where there were problem areas, or where I can grasp where problem areas are, and, you know, bridging the gaps. And so even if I feel like, you know, it's an unsuccessful semester, like, you know, what it looks like, but I believe like laying a foundation for the person following me, and like, you know, long-term, you know, sustainable solutions is how I also want to lead people. But I have to be in a mindset that even though it's like not like the best it is, I'm trying to lay forth for the future of Mafa.
I'd love to hear that. I will pass it on to any other board members that have questions if they have any.
I had a quick question. Sorry. So the VP External works closely with co-outreach chairs. How would you plan to utilize that partnership in facilitating communication with other Mafa organizations?
Yeah, I mentioned an idea where I wanted to, you know, as VPE, I would have to stay in contact with externals, but I also think it is important to utilize like the Ma family heads. I was a Ma family head this past school year. And so I think that collaborating with co-outreach would just help us reach all members for the ideas that I have laid out. And so I think the best way that we could collaborate is just making sure we get all of our bases for, you know, communicating Mafa updates and like opportunities for everybody. So that's how I would work with co-outreach.
Sophia, did you want to ask a quick question with 1 minute left?
Yes, and don't worry about the 1 minute, since this question will take just a little bit to say. Since there are no live questions from the chat, this will be the last question for you. I would like to ask that there has been a bit of a struggle to have a great communication line with organizations, whether it be just not getting a message back, or not really knowing who to communicate to, or not really maybe using the term ghosted on our towards us. So when you do hit that blockade where that communication isn't really going through to an org, how would you approach that situation, and what are some strategies you would do to kind of overcome that blockade?
Yeah, I mean, I understand with the pandemic and like not just Mafa, but like, you know, my Mafa organization and like other organizations I'm here, it's really hard to get engagement from, you know, like members and like, you know, other like just all organizations are experiencing that difficulty. And so I want to make myself like an available resource, so people know that like it's not just like me trying to talk to them. It's like if people have problems, they can come, or like have feedback, any suggestions, they can come to me and I can see how I can help people. But if it's like, you know, I'm getting ghosted, I guess, that's my strategy that I worked in my intern project with Gabe was just having some more like authenticity and legitimacy of a Mafa member organization. So I think implementing dues the next school year would really help motivate Mafa member organizations to be active. I also brainstormed like a little involvement system which could be hard to implement, but I could introduce the idea and maybe do like a guinea pig semester of that, where I could require like a Mafa member organization must, have like a representative at like at least 2 events, virtual events per semester or something like that, just so that we can just kind of like retain engagement and see how motivated they are to be in Mafa. And if they aren't meeting those requirements by not paying dues or not fulfilling their involvement points or something like that, then we can have a conversation if, being in Mafa is still like valuable to them.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That does conclude your time. Just want to once again say thank you for running for this position as well as being here for the interview. Just a quick reminder that after the interviews are done from every candidate, the live stream will be posted on the YouTube channel, so you feel free to send it to anyone or watch it back yourself. And the voting session will start after the interviews for round 1. And then once that concludes, there will be a round 2. And then we'll be in communication with you during those steps of the process. So I believe that's everything we have for you. Thank you again for doing this and being here with us. And you are all free to go.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Welcome. Let me get you pinned on my screen. There we go. Okay. So before we allow you to go on with the interview, just want to say a couple intro things. First, welcome. Quick explanation of how your interview is going to go. We're going to let you have that 5-minute speech where Jacob will be giving you minute warnings for your 5 minutes. And then right after that, we'll move into your Q&A, which will also be another 5 minutes with minute warnings at the same time. Anything you mention in your speech or from the application, whatever you choose can be questioned. We do have the live stream going, so any live stream questions will be asked as well with priority to board first. And we are wanting to remind everyone that when you do run for Mafa, we always want to remind people that this position is very important, but we also want to recognize that being a student and or full-time job, part-time job is also priority before a board member. So that's all I need to say. Good luck to you. And whenever you're ready, those 5 minutes will start.
Okay, hi, my name is Alexis Belbis, but I do go by Lexi. I'm currently going into my junior year at St. Louis University. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering with a possible minor in biomedical engineering. I'm from Naperville, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Some of my hobbies include listening to music, playing guitar, hanging out with friends, and going to the gym. I also really love dyeing my hair fun colors, but my hair is back to black because of my summer job, but who knows what color my hair will be next year. I've also been involved through Mafa throughout my 2 years in college so far. Last year, I was a Mafa intern under the outreach team, and I was also a Mafa intern again this year. At SLU, I am very much involved in the Filipino Student Association here. This past academic year, I served as treasurer and have been re-elected to continue serving as treasurer for the 2022-23 academic year as well. Some of my duties that I had this year were collecting dues, organizing profit shares, keeping track of FSA expenses, and creating the budget for next year. Among other things, but those were the main tasks that I had this year. For example, for our annual showcase at the end of the year, I created a budget for the event and had a budget tracker to make sure that we were staying under the budget. This event was definitely on a different level than our other events because it is the biggest event of the year. But by keeping a careful eye on the budget and working with people to ensure that, we managed to stay under the budget and create a very successful event for SLU FSA this year. Even though Mafa board would definitely be different than being on FSA e-board and planning events for us, I think that the experience of holding a position and working with others is beneficial when potentially moving forward to other executive boards. Through FSA, I also gained a lot of experience in representing an organization and how to interact on an organization's behalf when emailing or working with businesses and companies outside of our organization. I was also in charge of the fundraising for FSA and found a lot of local businesses that were willing to do fundraisers with us for the first time, which is something that I envision that I may potentially have to do as treasurer for Mafa as well. I would also keep track of the payments that went through on Venmo and issued refunds when necessary, especially for our big events such as Showcase. Some goals that I have for Mafa from a financial standpoint would be to maintain and grow our financial status. Some ideas that I have for that would be to potentially use the bingo card that I made for my intern project this year to get to know the new Mafa board at the beginning of the year, or something similar to Hot Seat to get to know the new board in a fun way. I also think that would be a good idea to bring back Mafa's Got Talent because we have a lot of talented members in our organizations, and giving them the opportunity to showcase their talents would help get them involved with our organization. Similarly, during my time as a co-outreach intern during my freshman year, one of my projects was an event similar to an open mic night called Late Night Coffee Shop, where people would showcase poems and things along the same lines. I think that we could potentially bring that back, but turn it into a way to fundraise for Mafa as well. I want Mafa to be stable enough to help our Mafa schools if necessary, but I also know how much time and money is put into big events such as FACT and MFAS. I want us to be able to continue to hold and put on amazing events, but we need to have enough funding and support so that holding those successful events is possible. One thing that I've been thinking about is how there are a lot of tons of schools in the Midwest that consider themselves a Mafa school. I see Mafa as a parent in a way. The easiest way that I could explain this is having Mafa as a parent and then the Mafa schools as children who are grown up and doing their own thing. If they need help, we're there to support them. They can ask for us. They can always come to us without question. And I do recognize that there will be many difficulties that can come from maintaining a region-wide organization's finances without knowing what necessarily it's like to do that. I think that the hardest part would definitely be staying organized and staying on top of things. To overcome this, I would definitely just keep track of everything and don't get behind, because then I'd be doing things gradually instead of all at once, and everything's not just thrown at me all at the same time. Let's see. I also know from experience that this past year that some things can come up during the year that you wouldn't expect, and you definitely have to deal with them. If that happens with Mafa, especially with a financial standpoint, I will definitely overcome what it is to the best of my ability. It would definitely depend on what it is, but I would help out as best I could. I would like to stress again that my main goal as treasurer will be to make sure that Mafa stays on top of financials and that everything is running as smooth as possible while also bringing new ideas to the table. I would use my prior experience as treasurer for SLU FSA to hopefully transition into a great treasurer for Mafa. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alexis. You just reached your 5 minutes, so very good. Now we're going to open it up to the Q&A with priority to the current board, and then we'll open it up to any questions from the live stream. So anyone on board, go right ahead.
Hi, Alexis. Thank you for your speech. I have some questions on behalf of the current treasurer, Mafa, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. First question, how do you plan on balancing being SLU's treasurer as well as fulfilling Mafa's treasurer responsibilities?
I definitely plan to balance that by putting like equal amount of time, especially for FACT. I know at the beginning there for Mafa, and for SLU FSA, we don't have a really big event until the end of the year. So I think just like splitting time between what I need to do for Mafa and then what I need to do for FSA at certain times, and just like deciding which one may not be more important in like a sense, but which one like deserves, or I should dedicate more time to, depending on what the event is and how much time I personally need to put into it as treasurer.
Thank you for that. And then if we were sitting here a year from now, what are some things that you would have wanted to accomplish? And if possible, if you could give like two specific examples.
I guess a year from now, I think one thing that I was just thinking about before is just trying to, I don't know if this would even be a possibility, but for like in terms of fundraising, instead of like doing like internal things, I was trying to maybe do external in a way where for big events such as schools that are going to like FACT and MFAS could do a fundraiser on their own, but it's also like going towards us. So I just wanted to try and get like other schools and instead of just funding through us, but I just want to try to do something like different and a little different and just like get other people involved as well. And then I think another thing would just be probably just having more successful events and just doing the same thing and like doing like living up to bigger and better expectations for those events.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with one more here. So with Mafa now achieving not-for-profit company status, being the treasurer would require additional tasks that are different from collegiate orgs. How would you navigate completing these tasks?
I think, well, I know for at least for like SLU FSA, we have a nonprofit status with a 501c3. So I think probably like the same things and kind of just like looking into like nonprofit things so that we can like get support from them as well and kind of just doing like the same thing as I would for my own nonprofit organization at SLU.
All right, thank you. I'll open up to if anyone else has questions.
I think that we could probably just like through, I'm not really sure how like the financials for Mafa are at the moment, but I think just like keeping stuff for that if we need to help support the Mafa schools, we have stuff set aside. Or we can also like try and like reach out to like businesses and companies closer to those schools to see if they could support in a way, especially since like it's coming from us as like the like umbrella parent, and then see if we can try and find ways to do it through places closer to them.
I have a question if we have time. You mentioned that you wanted to try and do more external fundraisers for, you said, for example, at events like for FACT or MFES, in your imagination, what would that look like? Is that like a restaurant fundraiser? Is that by selling merch? Like through what medium would that fundraiser be for those external things?
I think personally the easiest way would probably be a restaurant fundraiser just because I feel like a lot of people would want to do those and it's just the easiest way. Because I know that a lot of people like merch too, but I don't know how many people would actually buy it. And I think doing a restaurant fundraiser through the schools, and we can also do like multiple restaurants or just like finding out like a good restaurant that people would actually go to. So definitely restaurant fundraisers for the different schools.
Thank you.
Well, if that concludes questions from our board members, currently do not have any questions from the live chat, and that does conclude your time as well. So once again, thank you for answering our questions as well as letting us hear your speech. As some closing reminders, this live stream will go live, so feel free to share it, look over it, anything of the sorts. And once the interviews all go through, the voting period will open and we'll be in contact with you during that process to let you know anything, or if you have any questions for us, please let us know. Other than that, you are all set to go, and thank you again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. and good luck.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. So I think no questions. I'm good to start now. So hi, Mafa Board and Mafa Sphere on the live stream. My name is Sophia Bote. If you don't know me, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm running for Secretary of Cultural Affairs. I'm super excited to be here today, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about myself. I'm going to begin by going through my background and qualifications for the position, and then continue on to my ideas, and finally some concluding thoughts. So to start off, I recently graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Southeast Asian Studies. One defining aspect of my college experience was serving as secretary and then co-president internal of FASO. So in these positions, I planned and led events like PCN, an open mic night that focused on the intersection of queer and Asian identities, and a myriad of GBMs that highlighted topics such as mental health, being mixed race, and Filipino American History Month. So through these leadership roles, I've honed my empathy, organization, and collaboration skills, and administrative stuff like taking meeting minutes and managing emails. And all this, I believe, would benefit Mafa Board. Additionally, since UW was the host school of MFest 2022, I had the incredible privilege of being one of the workshops committee heads. I curated 21 workshops that explored numerous issues that Filipinos and students face, from career panels to Filipino gastronomy and more. I have a really diverse plethora of contacts that I can utilize for future events. So I believe I would bring a unique and well-seasoned perspective to Mafa Board as someone who's planned MFest before and is also no longer a student. So now I'll be moving on to my ideas for the position and board as a whole. First, I would like to streamline communications with the Mafa schools by bringing back the website. So here we can include like the calendar with all the Mafa Sphere events, have a special section dedicated to information all about MFAS, archive newsletters, and more. This would help reduce clutter on the Linktree and Instagram, and it could also potentially reach more people. I also would like to have a spot on that website with an anonymous form where people can submit, feedback so we can grow and improve. Comparatively, the newsletter would then be for updates and showcasing topical information and events that have been going on. I would love for it to be really interactive with opportunities for schools and individuals to contribute, like continuing member shout outs, encouraging people to write testimonials or even a whole column, submit art. The possibilities are really endless. I think it'd be cool to have it be more like of a magazine style. An editorial layout would be really visually appealing and it'd be a nice digestible manner for people to know what's going on. Moving on to my other ideas on how to showcase culture to the Mafa Sphere. I want to do a large scale project during FOM. I'd love to pursue a big social media rollout that focuses on different aspects of history, moving through pre-colonial times, colonization, independence, etc., all while highlighting celebrated figures. Additionally, it'd be cool to do a media project like a podcast or a video that showcases people's personal family history. Of course, I also want to continue doing roundtables. In particular, I'd like to host some that highlight the diversity of Filipino identity. Some potential topics are Indigenous and modern culture, as well as regional differences. So with my workshop connections, I can even bring in experts and guest speakers. I also would take care to research these topics really carefully beforehand and consult people because the material can be potentially sensitive. Okay. So all these ideas are good, but how do we get people to actually participate in them? I would definitely work closely with marketing to make sure everything gets advertised ahead of time and hold myself accountable for ironing out any necessary details in a timely manner. I also would collaborate with Outreach and VP External to make sure that the schools know where all of our resources and events are and how they can participate in them. I also think it's really important to keep in mind that any attendance is good and just to be thankful for whatever time people can give. Finally, I just want to conclude by elaborating a little bit on why I want to run for Mafa Board. I think this year's board did a really amazing job rebuilding the Mafa Sphere after the devastation of COVID. And I really want to be a part of the group that continues that legacy, that energy, and takes Mafa to new heights, because I think our members are really desiring more interaction, more knowledge. I'm passionate about Filipino culture. I have a lot of experience to bring, in particular planning NFAS and being on FASO board for 2 years. But regardless, thank you very much for listening, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to run for Secretary of Cultural Affairs.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sophia. That does conclude your speech time. You made it just in time of those 5 minutes. We will now be moving into our Q&A portion. We will first give priority to board, and then we will transition to any questions from the chat if there is. So anyone from board, go right ahead and ask Sophia a question.
Yeah, so hey Sophia, it's really exciting to see you here. Have a couple of questions. So my first one is mainly like time management, like coming from the perspective of someone who's graduated and someone who's had a job full time. I want to know, like, in the case you do get busy, what would your project priority be?
Yeah, that's a really great, really fair question because, like I touched on, I will hopefully be employed full time by the time all of this starts up. I think a big priority for me is still getting to host like a couple of events, like just like supplemental events throughout the semester, like through those round tables. I think like, because obviously like Mafa's biggest things are the conferences and the leadership retreats, but I think getting to have those few like extra events that touch on like a really unique topic are really valuable. They can bring in some new people with those interests. So that would definitely be where my top priority lies.
Cool. Thank you for that response. And then I also wanted to know, because things do get busy, we get busy, sometimes it's muddled as to like why you're doing this and why you're in your position. So I would also like to know a little bit more about why you, like, if you're in your position, if you got Secretary of Cultural Affairs, what would be your motivating factor? What is your North Star? What is the reason you are doing and hosting these events that you are?
Yeah, so that's another really great question. In general, the whole reason that I wanted to like run for Mafa board is because I'm not totally ready to like let go of like the amazing community that I found like through FASO, through Mafa. I want to like continue helping curate that for people. And like the events that I like choose or the topics that I would pursue, I would hope like make people feel seen or like feel that connection, which I guess is why I would pick them. Like for example, like back in the fall, I hosted the Queer X Asian open mic night, and like that was challenging to plan. I was busy at that time too, but getting to create that space for people to feel community, like the payoff was worth all of the stress and the busyness that came with it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anyone else has any questions, go ahead.
I actually have a question. So love to see you here, Sophia. Thank you for a great speech. My question that I have for you is, hold on, I just lost it. Where'd it go? LOL, this is embarrassing. Oh, so Secretary of Cultural Affairs is a very educational, academic, and social justice position, role, and responsibilities. So, you know, I'm heavily involved in research myself, and I think something that's very important when you're teaching people are the sources or the resources that you would utilize to present your programming. So what are those resources and or sources that you currently have or would like to expand to ensure that your programming is accurate, it's culturally sensitive, and is balanced, really?
Yeah, so one of my degrees in college was Southeast Asian Studies. A lot of my time was spent like creating research papers using different like databases to find articles, both primary and secondary sources. But I also think that one of my like greatest resources that would be relevant to this position is like my network of people, like because it's a combination of like academics, professionals, like students, a whole variety of like different Filipinos who all bring some like knowledge to the table. So I think that would be probably my greatest resource that I would rely on.
Got it. Thank you. I'll pass it on to anyone else who has other questions.
I have a question. Hi, Sophia. Thanks for being here. So when you're elected to Mafa board, you're not just your position potentially as secretary, you're also a member of this board, and we all work together. And I want to know, what's your vision for being on Mafa board as a whole, kind of connecting your work towards Mafa's mission?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of like different ways to go with that question. First and foremost, I just want to be able to like support my potential fellow Mafa board members as much as possible in their endeavors, as well as my own, like picking up extra work they need. But in terms of like a vision, like for Mafa board and for Mafa as a whole, what I really care about is just like creating this like space for people to feel like seen and welcome from all backgrounds, like whether you're like just starting your journey as like a little freshman who's like connecting with their Filipino identity for the first time, or you're like seasoned from the Philippines, like everyone has a place in Mafa and like they all belong in it. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Sophia, as well as thank you to the board members that asked questions. I currently do not see any questions from the chat, so that does conclude your Q&A portion as well as the interview. Beautiful job. Just wanted to let you know some closing remarks is that once we're done with all the interviews for the first round, voting will then begin. We'll stay in contact with you during that process, and we'll let you know any steps. And if you have any questions for us, please let us know. But that does conclude your interview, and you are all set to go. And good luck.
Awesome. Lovely seeing all of you again, and thank you for this opportunity. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. I'll send you on your way for your speech, just a couple reminders and explanation. So you will give, or we will give you 5 minutes for your speech. This can reference anything from your application or anything you would like to add on. Anything that you mentioned here will be up open for questions. And then after those 5 minutes, oh, and also you will be getting reminders of your time from Jacob in the chat, so make sure to look out for that. You will also be given then the Q&A portion with priority to our board for any questions first, and then we will open it up to the chat for any questions, and that will also be 5 minutes with reminders from Jacob too. Before I move on, just wanted to say a statement for you that we do want you to prioritize any school or any full-time job or career aspirations before Mafa board. Just wanted to let everyone know about that and just have that in everyone's mind going into this process. So I believe that is everything. So whenever you are ready, you're able to start, and then your timer will start with you as well.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Richlyn Espedido. I'm an incoming junior majoring in nutrition dietetics on the pre-med track at St. Louis University. And I'm also part of SLU FSA's organization. And tonight I will be running for Mafa Executive Board as Director of Marketing. To start off, I have leadership experience in SLU FSA as a member of our showcase board, where we were in charge of our organization's biggest event of the year. My position as senior video manager was not as involved as the other positions on that board, but I always tried to help out and lend my support to those who needed it. Overall, I dedicated a lot of time and energy to complete my own tasks and supporting my colleagues. Being on Mafa board, I would plan to bring that same attitude when it comes to working with my fellow board members. I will lend out my support to others when appropriate and needed, and make sure to contribute as a team player. Being a team player is essential for this position because I would be working closely with Secretary of Cultural Affairs and Director of Media to frequently post on the social media platforms. For example, I would have to work with them in order to create Mafa's social justice posts. To do that, I would communicate with them to talk out our ideas and visions and goals for what we want to put out in the post in order to educate the Mafasphere. I would also involve what we want to put out in. I would also involve and work with the rest of the board by simply asking for help in finding out the latest news in the Philippines. And then once it's been posted, in order to get exposure and spread the news to the Mafa members, I would work with the VP of External to get the externals of individual Mafa schools to post our news on their social media and help spread the word. If I become Director of Marketing for the next academic year, my primary marketing strategy is to make our social media more interactive with the individual Mafa organizations. Some ideas I have in mind are having individual Mafa school takeovers, utilizing our platform to help promote other organizations, events, and fundraising opportunities, and showcasing and highlighting each of the individual Mafa organizations on our Instagram. With this strategy, I hope featuring the individual Mafa organizations would help promote involvement in Mafa and better connect the members. Since our organization is filled with members of the individual orgs, this would help promote Mafa and increase our social media presence. I would prioritize engagement on Instagram because that is the one social media app that college students most likely have. Instagram also has fun features on their stories like polls, Q&As, and countdowns that can help make the Mafa Instagram more active to our followers and members. There is also a feature on Instagram where you can connect your Facebook account to Instagram, and whenever you need to post something on Instagram, it would also post on Facebook, which would help other members who don't have access to Instagram or are more active on Facebook to stay updated on current Mafa news. This strategy would come into play when promoting our big Mafa events like MFAS and FACT. In order to do that effectively, I plan to create a huge posting schedule leading up to the day of the event, consisting of the behind-the-scenes stuff, posts explaining what this event is, throwback pics to previous years, promotion videos or TikToks, anything in order to get the members to come to the event and get hyped up for it. It is very important for us to promote these big events because it gathers a lot of our Mafa members into one place and helps us connect with one another and be a big Filipino family, which is what Mafa strives to be. Some other marketing strategies that I would like to implement are working with the treasurer to reach out and create fundraising opportunities with local Midwest Filipino businesses in order to raise money for Mafa and utilize our platform to help promote us and them as well. I would also like to fiddle with the idea of creating a TikTok account for Mafa in order to expand and promote our platform and showcase who we are and what we do. For the next academic year, I will also be part of another executive board as a VP of Marketing, where their tasks and duties are very similar to Mafa's Director of Marketing and overlap with one another. In order to successfully manage my time while serving these positions and focusing on my studies, I will utilize my Google Calendar and to-do list that I've been using since freshman year to spread out my tasks throughout the week and not overbook myself. I want to be part of a Mafa board as a way to be more involved with Mafa. Since I started college, the upperclassmen in my organization would always boast about the big in-person Mafa events and the memories they made. I was also a Mafa intern this year, which gave me a perspective on what it's like to be part of Mafa board. Being part of Mafa board would give me the opportunity to be part of something that creates lifelong memories for multiple people, while also giving me the opportunity to grow and develop as a leader. I will bring my previous leadership experiences to Mafa's executive board and dedicate time and energy in order to fully live up to the expectations and standards of being a Mafa board member. Thank you for listening, and I hope you would choose me as Mafa's Director of Marketing for the next academic year.
Amazing, great job. You did make it under the 5 minutes, so we're just gonna move right into the Q&A portion, and I'm gonna give priority to the board first, and then we'll open it up to anything on the live stream.
Relating to like my primary marketing strategy with working with the individual Mafa orgs, my plan is to also have them like repost our posts on their stories so that I reach out to a lot of like members in the Mafa sphere. Thank you.
You, oh, excuse me, sorry, hold on. Well, first of all, hi, Richlyn. Thank you for being here today. My question for you is, you brought up a TikTok account. And I'm interested into how, like, what is the thought process behind it? Because I view TikTok as a very like short form content. It's very quick, right? So how could we utilize a TikTok account for very effective marketing then? What is the vision for that is, I guess, the question I have.
The vision is to start like, we could do short intro videos of who we are, what we do, and then hopefully working with the Mafa board members, we could join along the silly fun TikTok trends in order to promote us, and maybe also use TikTok as a way to showcase like behind the scenes stuff for our big events, see what we do. And then we could also do like a quick compilation of the big event after it happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have a question. So kind of like you, when I came into Mafa, I was also on an e-board for my own org. And you mentioned using Google Calendar to kind of manage your time. Do you have any other strategies that you plan on using to just avoid the burnout of being on two different e-board positions, since you are also a student first?
Mm-hmm. I think I might, it came off my head, it's kind of random, just like using little like motivation quotes and posts, just to keep myself motivated, like I can do this, I have the power to do this is why I'm doing this, and all of that, just keep myself motivated and reach out to my friends to remind me that I can do it.
Thank you. I like that.
Thank you.
Additionally, social media management and like the marketing is an essential part of sort of like, you know, getting the information out there to our Mafa members and like, you know, individuals and the member schools. However, due to COVID and all that, we've kind of been dealing with sort of like disengagement, as a lot of people are kind of getting sort of disconnected from like online platforms. How do you, or what would you propose to do to try and like either re-engage re-engage people on social media and digital platforms, or find any sort of alternatives to that?
As I mentioned previously, I would use Instagram's like story features of doing Q&As and polls, just to get interaction. And then maybe we could do kind of go along with the idea of featuring the individual schools, like, oh, who wants to be part of this series that we're doing? Like at my organization, we do Humans of FSA, where we showcase like general body members, and we can incorporate something similar to that with like a general body member of a Mafa school, if we like send out a form if they're interested.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have time? I have one last question. Okay, so I will have the last question then. So unfortunately this year we didn't have a sole person for marketing chair. That was kind of headed on by Jacob, which has done an exceptional job. So if you were to be elected as marketing chair, essentially you would be not necessarily starting from scratch, but having a lot of new responsibilities, a lot more heavier responsibilities, because it is now a solo position that is not being fulfilled by webmaster at the same time, right? So what's your vision then for marketing chair? What does that look like for you in a year's time from now, after being in marketing chair? what would you have wanted to accomplish with having someone finally in that position?
I definitely would want to accomplish having a bigger social media presence, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, or whatever new social media. We joined a bigger social media presence, and just like hopefully as an alumni, if I ever come back to my organization, I come back and like, oh my God, you were part of Mafa or something like that. Like make Mafa as a more familiar name to the future students of our organization.
Thank you. I love to hear that. You know, especially as the Vice President External, like we always love to hear from SLU. It's so nice meeting all of you guys. So with that being the last question, I'll pass it on to Sophia.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richlyn. Like Gabe said, that does conclude your Q&A portion. Currently do not see anything from the live chat. Lots of positive words though. So congratulations on your interview process. Just some last remarks after this. Once the interviews are all set and done, the voting will open up for the schools. We'll be in contact with you during that process. And if you have any questions about the process, please send them our way. Other than that, you are all set to go. And thank you once again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Hi, Kurt. Can you hear me well?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Perfect. Good evening. Welcome to the interview portion. I want to let you know the live stream is up and running right now. Oh, sorry. My titas are talking. I'm just gonna give you just a quick little intro before we get started here. First and foremost, welcome to your interview process. You will be given 5 minutes for your speech time, as well as Jacob sending minute reminders in the chat for you to look at. And once those 5 minutes are up, we will move into our Q&A portion, where we will give priority to board members to ask any questions, and then we'll open it up to chat. And during that portion, we'll also have Jacob sending you minute reminders during those 5 minutes. Before you move on to your speech, just want to give a quick reminder that we do want future board members to prioritize any career aspirations as well as student standings for Mafa board. We just want to have that statement out when running for Mafa board. And before that, I believe that's everything that we want to let you know. So whenever you start, your minutes will start, and good luck.
All right. Greetings, everyone. My name is Kurt Gabriel Delgado, and I'm running for Mafa's Director of Marketing for the 2022 to 2023 school year. I served as APAC's Public Relation and Marketing Chair for 2.5 years. That is from 2021 to 2022. As public relation marketing chair, I use the following principle to help me do my job effectively. And these are transparency, creativity, and resourcefulness. I'm willing to use this guiding principle to help me to effectively fulfill my duty as Director of Marketing once again, and to improve Mafa's image as a legitimate organization capable of producing change within the Filipino-American collegiate community. This experience will greatly benefit the Mafa Executive Board due to the fact that I have gained adequate knowledge of social media and marketing strategy during my tenure with APAC. One of the tasks that Mafa's Director of Marketing must perform is to provide the latest news of social justice issues. If elected, I will ensure that Mafa will effectively advertise the use of social justice issues through the creation of a Mafa podcast network. These include okay, so this includes podcasts within Mafa sphere that will contribute news to the network to talk about social justice issues affecting the Phil-Am community. It is essential that we provide original and good quality content that will educate people about these issues and find an interactive way to convey this issue with the world, which is why I will give each network member creative freedom and support in funding and creating these content. If elected, I will ensure that the Mafa's YouTube channel will be updated to include blogs, announcement, advertisement, and other content to help promote Mafa's to a wider audience. I believe using this channel as a tool to showcase the subculture within the Mafa sphere, which will draw potential members, school, as well other Phil-Am regional organization who wants to merge with Mafa. It is important that we as an organization should extensively promote ourselves through social media platforms and ensure that we have the influence to facilitate change within our community. And if you elect me as director of marketing, I will make sure that those change will be swift and vibrant. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kurt. You just made it under the 5 minutes for the speech portion, so we're just going to move right into the Q&A. I'm going to give priority to our board members here, and so whatever board member has their first question, go right ahead.
I have a question. So really cool to hear that you did serve on APAC's board. I wanted to ask what kind of marketing strategies that you picked up from your time serving this past year that you can utilize for Mafa's marketing.
Okay, I have so for ask me about like what strategies I picked up, and number one strategy is to that I picked up is to use my creativity to expand the position that I'm in. Like normally I worked with a co-chair, and we came up with strategy. We both came up with strategies to make sure that APAC social media is so vibrant. So with that being said, I make sure that that we I was okay. So normally I work with a co-chair. So together we came up with strategies together. And the one strategies that I picked up is to be more creative and to be more think out of the box, outside of the box instantly. Basically.
Thank you for your answer.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you touched upon creativity, because I actually think the podcast network is very interesting.
Yeah, for the podcast, in fact, we at APAC we have a podcast ourselves, and I'm trying to, and I kind of get inspiration from creating a podcast network that will unite other podcasts from other orgs into one network,
Yeah. So I guess then you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, which was I was interested in what that vision would be.
Yeah.
And for your podcast network. So, maybe then could you touch upon kind of how successful has the podcast been within APAC? And based on that success, how can you expand it onto a broader level like Mafa? Because APAC is one organization, while Mafa oversees over 20 plus organizations. So if you could provide me that perspective, I would really.
Basically, our podcast is very successful. So I've been trying to expand what APAC has started into to a broader regional organization. So basically, okay, can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm interested to hear what successful techniques or practices have occurred in APAC's podcast network that could be used to expand it into a larger scale, particularly because you're talking about a Mafa podcast network.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate on that? How could you expand that idea of the podcast network at APAC into something big for Mafa then?
Okay, so one of the ideas that I have is to have to have each one of the ideas that I have is like to have one of the if a member school already has a podcast, I want them to have the same like voice, the same like they talk about the same topics, about the issues relating into the Filipino American community, and basically we talk about what we do is to expand the network. Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you, Kurt, for being here and stepping up for running a position. It's not easy to put yourself out there. And I was just wondering, what other responsibilities will you have outside of being on Mafa board, and how will you balance those with Mafa responsibilities?
So next semester I have like an internship coming up. So I will be involved in Mafa, but I will be involved in Mafa, but I'm not gonna be that involved because I have an internship coming. So, and I will also have classes coming too. So I will make sure that I will balance that with my duties as if I get elected as director of marketing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll allow one more.
Yeah. So to be honest, I really don't have that skill, but I'm willing to like learn on the way as I progress towards like being a part of the members. So yeah, I will definitely use what I learned from being a board member from APAC, and I will grow. As I say, I will grow. I will grow my skills as I go. Yeah.
Hi, Kurt. I know I did say that was the last question, but I would like to prioritize our current director of media to ask you a question, since these two roles are quite collaborative. So if you would just allow Jacob to ask that question, that will be the official last one for you.
All right.
Thank you.
So, of course, marketing is really sort of the external part relative to like the the sort of more internal production side of things with media. So, you know, marketing kind of like with putting information out there. So how comfortable would you feel having to like sort of like work in tandem to sort of take the information that someone like is creating and stuff and sort of like put it out there in a sort of creative way?
Yeah, I definitely feel comfortable, you know, like doing that. I would take a, I would like take any advice from other board members who has similar position as I am. I will take their advice and I'll take it to consideration.
All right, thank you.
Okay, checking the chat after some board questions. We currently do not have any questions from the chat, so that does conclude your Q&A portion. Thank you so much for your time. You did go a little over, but that is okay. Just some closing remarks for you. This does conclude the interview process for round one. After we interview everyone else, the voting process will open. You will be able to go to our YouTube channel to check out any other speeches. And I believe that concludes everything for your portion of the interviews. Thank you so much for running for this position for round one, and more information about round two will be sent out and we'll be in contact with you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just close it out right now. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. That concludes round one for interviews, round one, part one. We do have one more candidate that will be in an alternative round one time on Sunday, May 29th at 6 p.m. Central Time. After that one interview, we then will open the voting process. The voting will end, I believe, let me double check. Sorry. Okay, voting for round one will open May 30th and close June 7th. And during that time, round two applications will also be opened, with round two interview day set to be June 9th. And then after June 9th, we will also have another voting for the round two, and voting officially closes for both rounds on June 17th. And then following that will be board announcements as